If I had a little Pika, it's a Pika world. What point on the doll, the bad touch? I was giving you a belly rub. Jeez, people on the internet always thinking the worst of people. Hi, it's time once again for the Comics Coffee Table, and it's the Sunday new release review. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'll be telling you later on when we get to this topic, spoilers. Spoiler warning. You've been warned. Spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about Amazing Spider-Man number 26 by Zeb Wells with art by John Romita Jr., ink by Scott Hanna, and a couple of amazing colorists. We're going to talk about that, my feelings, my reactions, my critique, one could say, as well, by being a lifelong Amazing Spider-Man fan. We'll get to that when we get to that. But just if you have not been spoiled on Succession, Barry, whatever else is, if you have not been spoiled on Amazing Spider-Man number 26, so I'll let you know when we're talking about it so you can take your out. And that's that. But there will be spoilers. They're ahead. Thank you so very much. At 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern daily, we take a break together. This is a geeky chill stream, and we like hanging out together. We leave the real world problems over there. We pull up a chair to our very own Comics Coffee Table. The coffee table was where my friends and I would congregate. We would shoot the breeze, and there would always be a stack of music, a stack of video games, that we were playing each other with. You know what I mean? Come on. Come on. UB22. Yeah. You just think that Dragon Ball Fighter Z is like, is pretty hot. There would be a stack of movies. There'd be a stack of books. These are just the movies, games, and books that are on our coffee table that we're trying to get each other to read. And there would always be a stack of comic books as well. We're trying to get each other to read. And that's the purpose of this show. This show also, too, I like to... firstly, I need to pay attention to my show notes. My executive producer, Pika, takes a lot of time, dedication, and bad handwriting, too, that I have to decipher. This is Drinka. He's the union cameraman and microphone boom operator. And that's Canadian Bear. Yeah, up there. And those are the denizens of our show. The pre-recorded, live before a studio audience of my stuffed animals from our Boston studios. Ha-ha! So pull up a chair, pally, friend, traveler. Bring a cup of whatever it is you're shoving under your nose today. Delicious. What am I doing with this show? I'm usually during the week, I'm rebagging, reboarding, reboxing my entire collection, and I take this as my platform or my evangelism, my platform, my pulpit. I'm an ordained minister, so I can evangelize, I can sermonize, and I usually do. I'm a spiritual dude. And my pulpit, my platform, my agenda, my messaging, my amplification of my truth is this: get thine ass back to thy local comic book shop and gift them with your patronage. Seriously, I need supplies. I'm reboxing, reboarding, rebagging my entire collection. Chances are you need supplies too. So do what I do. I'm getting them at the local comic book shop. Yes, I'm agreeing to pay the retail markup, but that helps keep my comic book shop open and a healthy local business. These are mom and pop shops, unless they're part of a chain, but if the smaller the shop, you have to know that this is like, an owner-owned, bookstore. Yeah, and these are mom and pop shops, and We should get out of our houses. The lockdown's long over. Wear a mask if you want. Some of my local comic book shops, they enforce a mask going in. And on that note, I'm blessed to have other shops to go to. I'm all for you wearing one if that makes you happy, if that makes you comfortable, if those are your beliefs. I mean, exactly. And so I'm getting my supplies there. I'm getting my boxes. I'm getting my snugs, my bags. And I'm getting my acid-free one-side coated boards. And I could be getting a huge discount at my online supply chain. The one with the free shipping and the built-in movie network. And you know what I mean, huh? And but how is that helping, or going to a big box store and getting, again, the same kind of discount, buying in mass quantities? No, that's not helping my local comic book shop and keep them open. They're the fulcrum of our culture. I mean, a lot of this outrage stuff. We're going to talk about outrage. We're going to talk about... We're not an outrage station, but you goddamn my friends are. And I'm okay with that. And there are a lot of hurt feelings going on in comic books today. And today I just want to, it's about talking about hurt feelings, expectations, storytelling, outrage, spoilers in comics, and judging a comic book at its face value if you have bought it. I buy all my funny books. I am not boosting any images on pirated sites, and literally I pay for what I read, and I go to my local comic book shop at least once a week on Wednesday, and so that's my evangelism. I call it Holy Ground, Highlander, or Holy Ground, Batman. The LCS, the local comic book shop. We are a symbiotic relationship, us, the fans, and the local comic book shop, their owners and their staff. I mean, embrace that. Be part of this love, this energy. Be part of that comic book shop conversation. You can only be part of it if you go there. Wednesdays and Saturdays, I hear, are the hot days to patronize your LCS, and I hope you do. And that's what we're doing. So, what are we doing? We are getting to. It's New Release Sunday. What did I buy this week? Well, I went to 2 local comic book shops in my neighborhood. I go to my usual, my village square. But if they are sold out of something, say like on New Release Day, such as on Wednesday, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, this store has been open for 3 hours. They're already sold out of Amazing Spider-Man number 26. It's hard to be a local comic book shop, and if I'm not contributing to their pull list, they don't know how to order. I mean, if I don't speak up, but I don't like pull lists. I like the thrill of the hunt. And so it was a light week anyway. I was only able to get one comic book that was kind of on my list. That was a new release. And I bought some boards as well. And then I went to my secondary location the day afterward on Thursday. And I found more in line of what I was looking for. And a couple of beautiful Bronze Age babies that we're going to discuss as well. Because that's what we do here. We love comic books and we talk about them. We're going to save Amazing Spider-Man 26 for the last comic book. And what's in the bag? What's in the bag? Well, it's a little banged up. It's a little dinged up because in the spirit of recycling, I'm bringing my brown paper flat bag back to the comic book shop with me. I don't pull it out there. I just I won't take a bag today. I'll just take my purchases, and then I'll put the bag on it outside and then put it in my knapsack. I don't want them to think I'm being cheap. I'll gladly pay the 10 cents. It's a citywide thing. It's about to encourage you to bring your own bags. They don't even offer bags at the supermarkets anymore. I guess you have to bring your own bag, or buy the reusable bag at your point of sale. Yeah. Whose cousin is making those bags? And and why do we have to fund their divorce? It's his third one. You know what I mean? Why doesn't he just trade in one of those IROCs of his? IROC is a car, a Z28. What's a Z28? Shut up! Get to the funny books, kid. So, just want to say too that we're using these two books this year, and I'm getting my head around a part of my comic book collecting that I've been neglecting for all this time. So my parents gave me these books for Christmas last year. So this season is dedicated to my parents. Thank you so very much. There are links in the description for these two if you want to get your own copies to play along at home. Also, you can pick these up. You should be able to pick these up at your local comic book shop. I saw the price guide at my second LCS on the shelf, and I'm like, oh, cool. So I should be saying that as well. You know, hey, eschew your online supply chain. Get your stuff at your LCS. Yes. Alrighty, well, let's get to it. And full spoiler warning, too. I just want to let you know that ahead of time. What's in the bag? This week, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 comic books. 3 of them are classics from a certain age, a certain time, and you'll know why I'm loving them. But first and foremost, I'd like to show you I picked up the free. Now, this was not for free comic book day. This was like released free the following week. I mean, hello? But this is the Dawn of DC primer. And here we go. This year's model. This year's style guide model. I mean, they've already changed Power Girl's outfit to something a bit more jacket and pants and less boob window. And let's see, I think they've already changed maybe Starfire's outfit to be like, less revealing as well. Because, but yeah, here are our heroes. This is the Dawn of DC primer, and it starts with a post-Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths by Joshua Williamson, and showing the new status quo in our first page here. Now we're starting what is after the Dark Crisis? The Dawn of the DC. They call it Dawn of DC. I thought it was Dawn of DCU, but we have Amanda Waller, and there's it's either her Suicide Squad or her Task Force X. I mean, they're using Peacemaker a lot because he's just popular. It's the John Cena angle, and it really helped put Peacemaker over. To use the wrestling parlance, no pun, with John Cena, who came from the WWE, wrestling entertainment, with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, David Bautista. It's been actually, the WWE is it's produced some really fine, action heroes in a way too. People that understand kayfabe, staying in character, being likable, being hateable, good stuff. But yeah, we have this entire we have guns, and we have Amanda Waller, and Amanda being tough, taking in charge of the situation, and that's her group. And what we're going to do is we are targeting the Justice League. It's the Just Them League. I hate Arsenal's new uniform. Look at that. Oh, gosh. And, yeah. Look at Aquaman looking very Jason Momoa there. They don't know what to do with that character again. Wow, look at the cutesy like on Wonder Woman. Who drew this? This is Leandro Fernandez, and this is Joshua Williamson on story here, but this is what's leading into. This is your Dawn of DC primer. It's the Green Lanterns, Shazam, I like this, like Green Arrow, first appearance. More Fun Comics, number 73, 1941. You know? It's great. Superboy, Con L. Its first appearance, Superman 500, 1993. Now that's just, here we go. Jonathan Kent, first appearance, Convergence, Superman number 2, 2015. It's telling you what keys are, to get. Like, look these up. Now, the Unstoppable Doom Patrol, first appearance, Unstoppable Doom Patrol number 1, 2023. Come on. You could have gone back to the original, to the 70s, to the 80s. I mean, Titans, Brave and the Bold, number 54, 1964 was the Teen Titans' first appearance. Yeah, and it's basically a glorified ad. It's just one huge house ad trying to get you to, But we got Big Belly Burger. I love that. We got a Ferris aircraft ad. I like that kind of stuff. It's the online edition of the Daily Planet. It's cool, huh? I think so. Yep, and here we just like your checklist of things to look out for and things that are coming, coming in June. Steelworks, written by actor Michael Dorn, that you might know as TV's Worf from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I'm actually looking forward to Hawk Girl. Seeing that, like, Hawkman was like really interesting. And a couple of creators I never heard of. If I look them up on Twitter, and if they haven't blocked me on Twitter for being adjacent to H8 groups or grouchy fans or toxic fandoms, I'll be glad to pick up their comic book. So, I keep saying it. Like, how am I supposed to, want to get behind City Boy or Spirit World? I just can't do it. I'm not gonna, no thanks. So yeah, that was the Dawn of DC primer, and I'm really into these Dawn of DC titles. I am buying Flash, Action Comics. I am buying Green Lantern. I am going to be hopefully getting Hawk Girl. I'm getting Shazam as well, and it's 5 Dawn of DC titles right there at $3.99 an issue. And then comes something like World's Finest, which is not Dawn of DC. It's set in an idealized, several years ago. You have a 15, 16-year-old Dick Grayson, hanging, and there will be a World's Finest Teen Titans title based on that, that new era. This is kind of like the new retcons. Well, we can put it like that. But they're fun comic books. They're well done, and they're well written by Mark Waid, who knows his comic book. I know that there are people, in our very own chat that, Mark Waid. I get it. I'm like, my first hurdle is like, have they blocked me on Twitter? Secondly, their business and their opinions are their own, and I know that they have, a pretty, tortuous interference or I don't know anything about it. I don't care. It's there was a legal dispute involving Mr. Wade and a YouTuber. They settled it. And that's between them. And I know there's been public feuding between some of my, big favorite creators and the YouTubers that I will follow. Between him, it's got nothing to do with me. I'm just stay out of it. You know what I mean? I would rather enjoy Mark Waid's superhero stuff. I actually believe in his narrative voice, his use of characters, the history that he possesses so much that in this changing age of DC Comics, he should really be the next editor-in-chief. He's been editor in smaller presses before. I mean, he's been doing this for 40 years. He's ready for the reins. That's I'm sorry. I mean, I know I'm not neither pro-Wade or anti-Wade. I just know talent when I see it, and I want the right person at the right job, the right captain steering a right ship with the right crew. Righteously. I picked up mostly Marvel comics this week. I was able to find Clobber in Time #2 and the new issue #3. So I was able to get this Clobber in Time #2 at my usual LCS, and it was the only new release I got. So I got a brick of boards as well, and I was hoping that they would have gotten Clobber in Times 2 to to have behind #3, because it sold out pretty darn quick that day when it got released. So I was able to find Clobber in Time #2 at my secondary comic book shop. Here's issue 1. I mean, I'm in on this one. Yeah. Steve Scroce has not blocked me on Twitter. And I just want to say, too, that this is part of the outrage we're going to talk about. Part of the outrage cycle. And there was a big hullabaloo about some of my favorite comic book creators and voices in the fandom and the fellowship. Sure, I mean, but we also have a big thing about outrage. And I'm going to be showing you some panels from last month's comic. And here we have the Watcher. We're setting the scene. He's like the Shakespearean chorus, like in Henry V. Take you now to Agincourt, across the channel, as we go off, something like that. So here we are in Krakoa, and we have Ben Grimm as part of this like kind of TEDx talk. And it's pretty interesting. And but then here, I'm going to turn the page, and here comes all the panels that mobbed Twitter last month about preachiness, about being postmodern, and about this agenda stuff in my comic books, and without realizing this is part of the joke. Also, this is pretty darn consistent with voices heard in Uncanny X-Men comics from 40 years ago. When I was reading X-Men comics 40 years ago, say about X-Men 170, one of my favorites, when Storm beat Callisto of the Morlocks, these are the Morlock voices. They are the same. This is totally the same thing. They've been like mutants who, because of their outward appearances, are shunned by typical humans and typical society. So much so that they had to live in the sewers of Manhattan as the Morlocks in a community, a society. And so the big part of this was like, hey now, you know what I mean? You were a typical human of us, you know what I mean? You had privilege, and then you were turned into this. So I think it's unfair to compare our truths. But the whole joke is that Ben's wearing an earpiece. He's getting to be like himself, where he'll say something angry and inappropriate, and very funny too, usually at someone else's expense. And then there's a ding ding, and that is his earpiece kicks in. Where the earpiece, and he says this to Logan in the next panel, and they're having a drink. What the hell did I just witness? What? I pontificate sometimes. Okay, I got a short fuse. And when it comes to inflammatory individuals, so Reed added some PR protocols to my gear. I wear a tiny earpiece that suggests diplomatic platitudes, responses amid tense public situations. See? That's the punchline. That was set up to pay off. There's nothing, no social messaging. This is just over the top, fun comic books. It's a Marvel team up with Thing and Logan, where these two nigh indestructible mutants and metahumans just face off against an impossible foe, and it's kind of gross out. They use grotesque to its advantage. This is great, written and drawn by Steve Scroce. And this was the new release this week. It's his team up with Doctor Strange. And this is good stuff. Great art. I mean, this is putting fun back in funny books. I'm here for that. I got 3 issues from the back issue bin for $2 a piece. I am a sucker for the Columbia 10 Speed Racer. So I could have gotten issue number 112 for $2 as well, and that has the Spidey and the Amazing Friends one. But also, I'm a little concerned about actual space on the spinner rack itself. So I'm very happy to have got these. I just want to look here for a second. Oh wow, we have. I love these ads. We get the bullpen bulletins. Jim Shooter. People hate him. The people that work for him hated him. But he was a magazine publisher. And that was that. Oh, look at this. We have, of course, the Hostess ads. Oh, and Clobbering Time number 3 is really cool because it starts off with with dinner with Aunt Petunia, with Ben Grimm's Aunt Petunia. He said, "My Aunt Petunia." Well, there's Aunt Petunia, and there's Ben Grimm and his his wife. You know what I mean? Some interesting stuff. I had one in here that I wanted to point out. Oh, here we go. The bullpen bulletins with all the different the announcement of the 10 Speed Racer ad. Indeed, and they're talking about conventions, comic conventions. Summer is convention time, and the mighty Marvel creative crew turned out in force to New York's July 4th New York convention and the Chicago Con mid-July. But I just love this stuff. And, all right, it's spoiler time. It's spoiler time. I got this. Amazing Spider-Man number 26, the spoiler variant. I'm about to open up to the cover, which spoils. Like, hey, true believer, this spoiler variant is protected by the patented Marvel Spoiler Saver system. Looking at the font, here you go. Where spoilers on, so now's the time to fast forward to the end of the episode. But here we go, and this is based after John Byrne. So this is Gary Frank. And it's after Byrne. This is like, after John Byrne. I think the famous Cyclops holding Jean Grey. People have their problems with Amazing Spider-Man, especially this issue that I'm holding in my hand right now. Hi, I'm Eric. I'm your friend. I'm 50 years old. I'll be 51 this November. I've been a Spider-Man fan all my life. I've had an on-again, off-again love affair with Spider-Man comics. I've been buying it all my life. Different Spectacular Spidey, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man was one of my favorites in the Bronze Age. Web of Spider-Man was huge for me. Spider-Man Volume 2 issue, especially culminating in like high school to the Kraven's Last Hunt in the black outfit, and I took a break from there. I then came back in the early 2000s and was blessed to have caught up with the Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr. art. John Romita Jr. has been doing the art at Marvel Comics and on Spider-Man for a very long time. So this is Spider-Man Volume 1, number 249. Its release date was November 1st, 1983. And its cover date is February 4th, 1984. I was 11 years old. Literally 10 going on 11 years old when this came out. 40 years ago. Same artist. Different inker. Dan Green did the inking on this. I just want to bust these out for a second because I want to look at the faces. Look at the ads, of course, but I mean, I just want to with Dan Green's inking. I mean, and then this is Bronze Age coloring. Okay, this is direct inks to page. How they will age, they will look over time, but I'm specifically looking at John Romita Jr.'s faces, the faces here, like Harry Osborn's face right there. And other faces too. This is a year later. This is from Uncanny X-Men number 199, which his cover date is from November of 1985. I would be 12 going on 13. And a pretty much, head over heels X-Men fan. But this is the John Romita Jr. art I grew up with. And also, this was also inked by Dan Green. And, Glynis Oliver was the colorist. And these were just the colors that were used at the time. I love, and look at that face. Look at that chat, I'm just saying, let's look at these faces for a second. Because one thing about John Romita's Amazing Spider-Man run is this precision detail that he's got, and especially the faces of his characters. And a lot of that has to do with his inker, Scott Hanna, and their colorists. Now, colors are done digitally now, all right? And and I also want to say, I have this as well. This is Amazing Spider-Man 544. Okay, this is part 1 of One More Day. At a 9.2, near mint minus, this would be worth $12 if there weren't so many bloody dings on the spine roll. So this too is a key issue, a controversial Spider-Man issue. This controversy in Spider-Man go hand in hand. I also want to say too, I had this in the early aughts, about say 2007 or so. I got it at a decent price. I had this 11 CD-ROM set full of scans of Spider-Man comic books. It was for the 40th anniversary. I'm going to read this from Preview Worlds, and this is from back then. It ships on November 24th, 2004. It's a suggested retail price of $49.99. There was also an Avengers version. I think there was a Captain America version as well, Fantastic Four version, but I got the Spider-Man. And they had about a total of over 500 complete issues scanned on PDF. And there were annuals, and but there was Amazing Fantasy 15 all the way to Amazing Spider-Man 500. And it covers March 1963 to December of 2003, which included a chunk of the J. Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr. It's the second heyday. I wish I had some to just point at and show you, but Romita's form and his faces and his style has evolved over time. And I look at something like Kick-Ass with Mark Miller on Image Comics, or even All-Star Batman with Scott Snyder in the late New 52, right around Rebirth. And then comes he did some DC work as well. DC got J.R. Jr. out of Marvel, and he did Superman for a while as well. Was never too thrilled about his Superman or any of that DC work really, but he's always kept pushing himself as an artist, style-wise. And so I'm not buying complaints about John Romita Jr.'s art here. He does a lot of these 6-panel pages, and it's just, this is, for me, okay, I'm coming into Amazing Spider-Man pretty much cold. I haven't really bought Amazing Spider-Man in over a decade. I think I stopped with Big Time right before Superior Spider-Man. That's when Otto Octavius takes over Peter's body. And there's a really interesting run for a while. Peter was canonically kind of dead, but we all know what comic book death means. But heard a lot. I'm loving the faces. I'm loving the detail. I'm loving where John Romita Jr. has gone as an artist. And here we go. Here is your catch-up page. Everything you need to know about, the past 25 issues, which have been a thorn in the side of monthly readers. I get it. I'm not pish-poshing anyone's negative feelings. But I will stand firm and say there's nothing wrong with this magazine. There's nothing wrong with this comic book. I mean, I'm questioning the outrage, with a cui bono of the outrage, where it's coming from. it's coming from hurt feelings and about frustration. But it's also, Zeb Wells is on, has 3 years on Spider-Man. This is only year 2. This could be the nadir of Act 2, where Spidey is, he has to, surmount his challenges. But I mean, I'm loving, the art in here. It's about the colorist too. I mean, this is inked by Scott Hanna, and who's been around as long as J.R. Jr. And the colorists are Marcio Menez and Eric Arcienega. And between those 4 individuals, they make these pages really come alive. I mean, seriously, J.R. Jr. has been doing this over 40 years. He's been on Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, off and on for 40 years. These panels are a TED Talk on pacing. These are really good panels. This is a really well-paced, presented story as an individual comic book coming in cold after years. I mean, I understand readers are fed up with what they feel. But it's just like, it's not the most amazing art, but good. But bloody hell, this started in pencils. We can tell with hatching and cross-hatching. And this whole hullabaloo about why is Kamala Khan there? What does this have to do with Ms. Marvel? I mean, she's just part of the mix, and it's about comic book death. And have you heard of fridging? Okay, I've heard, fridging is a thing about, it happened in a Green Lantern comic book in the mid 1990s, where the new Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, his girlfriend, was brutally assaulted and murdered by the villain known as Major Force. And so when Kyle Rayner came home and opened up his refrigerator, he found his dead girlfriend stuffed in the refrigerator. And from now on, that's been called fridging, and an example of misogyny, patriarchy, and the latent abuse of women in media. It has legs, and it stands, and it runs. But, I mean, I think it's completely overblown. That's clickbait culture. That's outrage culture stemming from there. So to call what happens to Kamala Khan in this book, because if the scribble dude here kills Mary Jane, the whole world dies. And so the Fantastic Four show up. I mean, these are really good panels. This is really good, pacing. I mean, if it wasn't for all the ads, it would flow a lot better. But Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, teenage superhero, the chagrin of everyone in fandom. She is not fridged. She is not brutalized. She is not victimized. She makes the hero's choice. She saves the world. She does, with her choices. And it's a kind of a bait and switch, but she uses her powers to trick the big bad into thinking she's MJ. And so the big bad is now like, I've killed MJ. I now the world will be mine. Now we can attain godhood. But the dark god that he's been communing with has rejected his sacrifice and offering because it was the wrong sacrifice. And it's just a quick little thing of dialogue being like, oh, I didn't know if I could still do that. I've been working with Spider-Man. Guess I don't need this anymore. Kamala, oh my god. I didn't think I could. She's not healing. And some magical scythe just pierced her. But that's a death scene. And I'm not I wouldn't bag on that. This has pathos. This has all the feels. This is up there with Spider-Man's with great responsibility. Because good is a thing you are. I'm glad you did so good. Oh, I'm glad, because good is a thing you are. It's a thing you and the death rattle, and that's interesting. I'm loving these faces. I'm loving these panels. I'm loving the pacing, the progression, and and Peter just might. And this last page, it's kind of flat in the background, especially with the hovering gold goblin glider there. So it's just kind of like there's a little bit of lack of depth, like visually. I mean, it's a bit squashed, one-dimensional. And look, a letters page. Come on, isn't that old-fashioned and cute? Wow, we've gone on for 40 minutes. We got to wrap this up. And if you're still with us, thank you so much for coming along this way. But I ask you, it's like, I don't know if I'll get the next issue. I'd like to see how this turns out. I hope that Kamala really is not a Skrull. It doesn't show. This is the last page. We don't see what happens to her right after. Hopefully she'll have a very quick resurrection, especially with X-Men Protocols being the Krakoan thing, blah, blah, woof, woof, comic book death. But that was completely heroic. It was and in universe, Kamala Khan is beloved by her fellow heroes. It doesn't matter what we think as finicky fans, looking at these self-inserts of former publishers, of, you know, these rallying cries of diversity hires and, you know what I mean, and just blah, blah, woof, woof. I'm not buying any of that. What I will buy is that Peter has inadvertently gotten one of the kids killed. Regardless of if she can come back from that or not, that's on him. And it's going to weigh heavy on his heart because that is who Peter Parker is. This is the Parker look. He does all these things to piss off his friends, and they all come together for him at the end, specifically the Fantastic Four. He brings Mary Jane back. But it's the Parker look that she's 4 or 5 years older. She's in a committed relationship with Paul. And we'll see how that turns out, too. And he got Kamala killed. Because, well, what probably would have happened anyway. This big bad enters our world. And Kamala came up with the strategy that saved the day. It saved the world. It saved MJ. And it saved all of her friends. And I found that to be, you know, good storytelling, good art, great pacing. I mean, I get that people are mad. I get that people, gives you some, it gives us something to talk about sometimes. But you know, where are the bon mots for this? I have them. I'll stand by this comic and just say this was pretty good pacing, pretty good delivery. I got no problems with this, really. I'd give it a 7.9 or an 8 out of 10. Just because, you know, it's 10's really hard, 10's, yeah. But this is far from awful. The outrage, I paid for this. I paid $5 for this. I'm satisfied. Yeah, and as a lifelong Spider-Man fan. Seriously. And we got to wrap this up. It's been New Release Sunday, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern Daily. We talk about comic books every day. Come and join us. Like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. And then on Sundays, we talk about the new releases that we bought this week. And we go over them. And we went into overtime today because it was a big ballyhooed issue. Is this worth the outrage and the ballyhoo? I say no. I mean, I get it. I mean, I've been outraged over many things and many of these properties and these titles, but I don't see it here. I mean, and I'm good at smelling a loser. I'm good at smelling something bad, and staying away from stuff. And, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with Spider-Man 26. Thank you so very much. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. We will see you again tomorrow in those funny pages. Ciao. Bye-bye.